like to thank so many IBM people for their kind thoughts and prayers directed at my wife and I during our ordeal with coronavirus. We are both rebuilding from all that nasty virus stuff, not a day too soon for either one of us. The bar was not too high for me before catching the China plague, and the illness seems to have taken a toll on what was left of much of my core muscles in my body. Whether I'll get them back is unknown, and I've scheduled some physical therapy to see if I can get back what little I had before. So, what's this episode's topic? During my COVID downtime, both in the hospital bed and from home, I still communicated with many of you about various subjects concerning IBM and the devices and resources I utilize in my home. Among the various topics of discussion was one that was repeated, and that included questions about sit-to-stand lifts. I know we've talked about them a few times before, but there are still a few questions out there that I'd like to address in this video. We will discuss some of the advantages and disadvantages of owning a sit-to-stand lift if you have inclusion body myositis. Let's talk a few basics about sit-to-stand lifts. Sit-to-stand lifts are quite a bit different than the conventional patient lift. The conventional lifts use a sling or strap system to completely cradle the person being lifted and lifts their entire weight. A sit-to-stand lift still uses a sling of sorts, but the weight of the person being lifted is transmitted through their legs to a platform on the lift. The feet of the patient are securely placed on the foot platform with the knees positioned against the knee block pads, which will prevent the knees from bending when being lifted. Sit-to-stand lifts often have a smaller base than a conventional Hoyer-type lift and can usually be maneuvered in a smaller area, but are limited to transferring a person from one sitting position in one location to a sitting position in another location. While great for transferring a person from a wheelchair to a commode, chair, toilet, or bed, it is more difficult to pick a person up off the floor, and it can't lift a person from a bed unless they are able to get to a seated position on the edge of the bed. Another big difference between a conventional lift and a sit-to-stand lift is the access to more fully disrobe for toileting. While using a toileting sling with a Hoyer lift, access for lowering your slacks or pants is limited, while with a sit-to-stand lift and its corresponding sling, a lot more real estate around your bottom side can be bared when toileting. More unobstructed access for pulling your pants or slacks back up can also be appreciated with a sit-to-stand lift and its corresponding sling. People who are not able to stand on their own can benefit from a sit-to-stand lift to prevent secondary complications that often result from prolonged use of a wheelchair or long-term stays in a bed or lift chair recliner. Standing promotes the following medical benefits: duplicates the natural symmetrical standing posture, develops and improves upper body balance and strength, may improve range of motion in spine, hips, knees, and ankles, and offer some decompression of the spine structure. Standing upright might decrease abnormal muscle tone and reflexes, spasms, and contractures. Reduced pressure sores through changing body positions. Probably most important, using a sit-to-stand lift can improve systemic functions of the bladder, digestive, respiratory, and circulatory systems. It can also stabilize and prevent loss of bone mineral density. Alleviate pain caused by prolonged or inappropriate position. Develop standing tolerance and endurance. Many people enjoy psychological benefits in addition to the physical benefits achieved by being able to stand for short periods of time throughout the day, such as improved self-esteem and even some social development. To facilitate my standing times during the day, I have my caregiver lift me to full height where I can lock my knees away from the device's knee pad. Then one of us tells our Alexa to set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes while watching TV, peering out a window, or maybe just watching the traffic go by. If my knees would weaken and collapse, they won't go far when they bump up against the knee support, preventing any further catastrophe. Additionally, Being near the full vertical standing position allows me to flex my knee joints to exercise them. Again, falling is not possible as your knees will lock in the back position and you can't go too far forward because your knees will always contact the sit-to-stand lift knee pads. What are some of the disadvantages of utilizing a sit-to-stand lift? Just like a conventional or Hoyer type lift, the caregiver can easily push or pull the lift on a solid surface floor like hardwood or tile, but that push or pull is much harder on a softer carpet surface. The last time we replaced our living room carpet, we chose a high-traffic commercial type of carpet that required minimal padding underneath it. We're glad we did this, as it makes moving the sit-to-stand lift around a little easier. If you have an electric model, which I would highly recommend, you must remember to periodically plug it in to keep the battery charged. Like anything else battery operated, a low or dead battery won't do its job. My sit-to-stand instructions tell me to grab onto the bars of the boom arms for additional support. This may be very difficult for a person in the advanced stage of IBM, but isn't necessarily required for a safe lift. During my 2-year ownership of my sit-to-stand lift, I have either just locked my hands together in front of me, or more often, just left my arms hang by my side. I've never had the feeling of slipping out of the sling during a lift. If you are considering acquiring a sit-to-stand lift, I have a few recommendations that can be considered before your purchase. If you have IBM, don't even consider the less expensive manual type sit-to-stand device where you need a lot of body strength to get yourself up. Although your initial purchase price will be less, your IBM and the inherent future weakness that go along with it will make a manual type lift a product with a short useful life for you. If you want to show some love to your caregiver, invest in an electric-powered sit-to-stand lift. The hydraulic pump type lift requires your caregiver to ambitiously pump a lever 20 to 40 times during each lift, whereas an electric lift only requires pressing an up or down button on a corded remote control. Although the operation of spreading and narrowing of the legs of the lift to get positioning around chairs or narrow doorways is doable with a manual type foot or hand control, it can be more difficult when the lift is loaded with a patient and you are on a soft carpet surface. I would recommend a more expensive model with electrically operated legs if you are regularly operating on a soft plush carpet surface. Any of the electric models will include a cord and a charger and should be plugged into your standard wall socket so it's always ready for use. My Lumex LF2020 lift also features a breakaway cord that simply disconnects if the lift is pulled away from the wall when the charging cord is still attached. This feature has saved some broken cords and the replacement of the charger several times for us. So what are the cautions for using a sit-to-stand lift? My wife has escaped injury so far, but I cringe when I see how close the lift's wheels roll near her bare feet when moving me around on a hard surface floor. A properly fitted sit-to-stand sling is also important, and probably not the time to take any shortcuts. Follow the sit-to-stand and sling manufacturer's advice on sizing and wearing a sling during operation. My sling includes a crossover strap that we use religiously. Contrary to people's thinking, the sling should be installed low on the back around the lumbar area and not across the upper chest and up underneath the armpits. When leaning back, the lift from the lumbar area will be much easier for the patient being lifted. Lifting from underneath the armpits will cause discomfort for the patient during the first part of the lift. A few people express their concern that they might fall out of the sling during a lift due to their weak arms. Please believe me, my arms have absolutely no strength left in them and cannot even reach up to hold on to the grab bars as recommended by the manufacturer. My arms always hang loosely down at my side, and with the sling properly attached and buckled securely around my lumbar area, I have never felt like I would slip out of the sling. IBMers that can't get past that falling out of the sling thought can install an additional butt sling that will support their bottom side, but that involves adding another step in the process. So, how easy is it to use the sit-to-stand lift? Once you and your caregiver have used the sit-to-stand a few times, you will get into an operating rhythm for operating the lift. In my case, my wife sometimes has to pull me forward from the chair back to get the sling around my back. She snaps the buckle together and tightens it around my lumbar area and waist. She then takes the black crossover belt and inserts the left side lift strap through it. My wife then rolls the lift up to my feet, and unfortunately, because of my inability to lift my legs onto the platform, she has to manually place my feet and legs on top of the lift platform. With the width of the sit-to-stand lift's legs fitting around the base of what I am sitting on, she rolls the lift closer to me until my knees touch or come close to the knee bumper. When attaching the sling lift straps to the sit-to-stand lift, it's important to attach the straps at the same length. Many slings will have color-coded strap loops that help identify connecting at the same length. In my case, we always connect it to the yellow or middle strap loop. Lifting is easy with an electric sit-to-stand lift, and all your caregiver has to do is press the up button. Before the lift strap tightens, it's very important for you to lean back from the lift and into the sling. By doing this, you allow for more even and easier lift. Then just let the lift work for you until you are at the desired height. We often take the lift height to the point where I am almost standing straight up for reasons defined earlier in this video. Going down with the sit-to-stand lift is easy peasy. As you are being lowered, again rest back against the sling and let the lift lower you, allowing a rearward arc. By doing this, you will be more assured to be set back down at the rear of your target seat area rather than on the front edge. When fully lowered, your caregiver will disconnect the sling straps from the sit-to-stand lift and remove the sling. During my recent home visits with an occupational therapist, I showed her how I do some simple exercises while being supported by the sit-to-stand lift. While standing, I move my knees away from the knee bumper on the lift, virtually locking my knees up. I then slowly allow my knees to go forward until they are against the knee bumper. I repeat this several times. I have also lowered the sit-to-stand arms a couple inches to make this exercise a little harder. I never want to overdo it, but usually do 4 or 5 cycles. My occupational therapist thought it was a very good exercise routine for me. Wow, this video has gone longer than I know most viewers want to watch, and is also a lot longer than I like to edit, but it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video and encourage you to press the thumbs up button. Press that subscribe button and notification bell if you are not already a subscriber. In doing this, you will be alerted to future episodes, any special announcements, and any giveaways this channel may offer. Get lifted, my IBM friends.